Princess Peach, certified best girl and arguably Nintendo's most popular monarch. She is super cute, dainty, skilled in a variety of sports. Maybe not in that clip, just don't look at that. Besides that, she's great at baking, and apparently she's super in touch with her feelings too. Talk about a full package.
Nintendo!
Super Princess Peach came out for the Nintendo DS in 2005 in Japan and in 2006 everywhere else. The game starts off with a little backstory that results in Bowser taking the Mario Brothers captive. Mario and Luigi are then shown in friggin' bondage, and Peach is like, oh no, that's my job. And that's where you come in. Peach makes it her mission to rescue the two in a reversal of the damsel in distress trope. We then take control of Princess Peach, which is where we discover her abilities. Jumping, sliding, using Parry the Parasol for a variety of actions, and of course, her emotions. Peach has 4 emotions, or vibes, to choose from to weaponize. Joy, gloom, rage, and calm, which is more directly translated as ease. This is likely a reference to the 4 humors in Greek medicine, where joy corresponds to blood, gloom to black bile, rage to yellow bile, and calm or ease to phlegm. But what do those guys know? Let's get back to the important things, like what they mean in Super Princess Peach. Joy allows you to float and can be used to blow away objects and enemies. Gloom makes Peach run quickly while sobbing, which can be used to water plants, dissolve certain obstacles, and traverse falling platforms. Rage, which upon using engulfs Peach in flames, which can be used to burn platforms or power hot air balloons. And Calm replenishes your health. Gameplay-wise, it's a very easy platformer with a couple of simple puzzles thrown in, and the Calm mechanic makes it extremely difficult to actually die. There are a few cute moments of utilizing the DS's tech, like playing on Bowser's side in the beginning, closing the doors of the castle by tapping them upon being prompted to in the story's dialogue, speaking into the microphone to give the charge signal to Army Hammer Bro.
No, don't!
Ooh, immersion. Mainly though, you use the touchscreen to activate Peach's vibes. This game is criticized for how easy it is, and for me, I don't really see that as super valid because I love plenty of games even if they are super easy. I'm allowed to say that because I have 100% of the Steam achievements for Cuphead. But I'm not really here to talk about the gameplay. I'm more interested in talking about the social implications of Peach's use of emotions as abilities, because that got some backlash. Lots of people critique this new focus on Peach's emotions as an ability. GameSpot reviewer Ryan Davis refers to it as being rather sexist. Bryn Williams of GameSpy, a subsidiary of IGN and which shut down in 2014, asked, is Nintendo trying to say that females are all emo? Various YouTube videos all poke fun at how overtly girly this game is, and this definitely didn't go over my head even when I first played the game as a kid. I know that for me, as a 9-year-old, I felt like it was super sexist and stereotypically girly, and that made me really not want to play it. The idea that women are always tied to their emotions felt so reductive and cliched, and I already felt this way as a child. This concept is really ingrained in our culture, painting effeminate characters as being super emotional, while their masculine counterparts usually are depicted as stoic and who dominate their foes with physical strength. Both of these tropes are based on traditional stereotypes of femininity and masculinity. I asked another gamer I knew whether he liked Super Princess Peach. He raised an eyebrow at me and laughed a bit, surprised that I told him I was playing it again since he assumed that I wouldn't enjoy it for these associations. However, upon playing the game more recently, I would argue that while it is based in a stereotype, the specific criticism of Super Princess Peach is a bit misguided. I personally believe this game doesn't get enough respect, and a lot of people are often willing to dismiss it due to its use of emotions as a gameplay mechanic in a video game featuring a female protagonist. However, Peach's characterization is largely already based in stereotypically feminine roles, and this specific critique of Super Princess Peach seems to disregard the context that she's posited within. Additionally, I think Peach's ability to express herself ultimately is a superpower, and we should take her and this ability seriously rather than viewing it merely as a throwaway trope. Honestly, this dismissal of her strength's validity because of her overt femininity comes off to me as more sexist than anything else, and is strongly based in the way our society encourages the stigmatization of emotional expression due to its associations with femininity. In the context of Nintendo games, there are plenty of games where Peach is depicted as hyper-feminine. Maybe all of them, and yet they're still viewed as iconic and uncontroversial despite perpetuating traditional ideas about femininity. Peach has never been a particularly feminist icon in the traditional sense. She's always getting kidnapped and typically adhering strongly to the damsel in distress trope. It always struck me as being a little strange that people had issues with Super Princess Peach when Nintendo has always depicted Peach with hyper-feminine cliches. In Super Princess Peach, she doesn't really advocate for herself or express herself in words throughout the game, but that's pretty standard for Nintendo protagonists, so I won't harp on that too much. So let's take a look at some of her depictions in other Nintendo games. In Superstar Saga, released in 2003, and one of my favorite games of all time, she becomes literally voiceless. In instances where she tries to speak, she instead unintentionally causes explosions and wreaks havoc. Yet, despite not having anything to say beforehand, in her distraught state, our emotional Empress keeps trying to speak anyway, which only results in further destruction. She's depicted as being unable to contain herself, which in my opinion plays even more into the stereotype of the over-emotional woman. And since she doesn't have much to say in the first place, her voice is used more so as a plot device than as characterization, which makes it arguably more offensive. In games where our royally reactive Peach does speak, like in Paper Mario, she is very expressive, but still mostly helpless. In the two arguably least controversial entries, 64 and the Thousand Year Door, which came out in 2000 and 2004 respectively, she does what she can to rebel, like baking cakes and flirting with a computer so that she can send messages to Mario. Yeah, I wouldn't say that those are typical depictions of strength either, but ultimately they get the job done. Peach uses the feminine role she's been given as a way to strategize, and most people find her cake-baking skills to be quite endearing, and Tech's story to be deeply moving. I know I do. I've gotten very attached to our sentimental sovereign's displays of emotion. Her effeminate efficacy seems to be par for the course.
Nice part.
And she still manages to showcase a bit of sass on occasion. Now, none of this context invalidates the legitimacy of the criticism. There's definitely a lot of reliance on stereotypes throughout Peach's characterization, making these critiques warranted. I just wish Super Princess Peach wasn't specifically criticized for this, when these criticisms seem to be overlooked in other games. Of course, Super Princess Peach is a game with Princess Peach as the focus, so it makes sense that there's a higher level of scrutiny on her depiction in the game, but considering the context of her characterization throughout Nintendo's history, guys, come on, we're really gonna start complaining about sexism now? I would argue that in Super Princess Peach, she displays the most agency and capability that she ever really has. She's independent and strong as she navigates the world on her own. So what if she's emotional? Peach controls her emotions, not by stifling them, but by expressing them, in order to shape the world around her and achieve her goals. Beyond this, we have seen Peach's voice and self-advocacy reworked in several ways, like in one of my favorite articles of clothing, the shirt from Zara, where Peach is depicted in a pop art style and says, "I'd rather be kidnapped than ask Mario for help," as though it's a personal choice that she becomes the damsel in distress we always see her as. Seems like her pride gets in the way of practicality. Sure, pride is another emotion, but it also conveys a sense of confidence and personality. And speaking of pride, she's confident and overjoyed when she succeeds in Mario Party 5. And our prideful princess can be interpreted either as being demure or as being sassy in her Mario Party 6 victory line. Especially when coupled with her pose, I prefer to assume the latter. Lots of people like to view Peach as being badass, and Mario's sports game appearances especially can give her femininity an edge, though she's usually presented as a softer contrast to the more stereotypically tomboyish Daisy. But this is all to say, Peach's overt femininity shouldn't diminish anyone's perception of her strength. She can be feminine, strong, and effective all at once, and that's why we love her. She's an icon. I think that's what bothers me most when I see these criticisms of Super Princess Peach. I mean, I know I love Princess Peach's imagery. My username in 3DS all used to be Koopa Queen for a reason, except that it didn't really fit on the 3DS username section, so I did my best. Though I was thinking of it more as a female counterpart to the Koopa King, Bowser, and not Bowsette. This was pre-Bowsette. We do have reason to refer to Peach that way.
Leave my mama alone, you bad man. I won't let you take Mama Peach away. Mama Peach.
And my dad's a huge fan. While Peach's emotions in Super Princess Peach don't exactly play into her character development, I honestly really enjoy the idea of emotions as superpowers. Most people like to downplay their feelings or even avoid engaging with them, which can lead to tension down the line. People are often described as weak or told they need to toughen up when they express things like sadness or anger, or even being too excited or happy if it isn't deemed appropriate for the setting. Peach, by contrast, does all these things and ends up saving someone who's usually supposed to save her. Admonishing others for being overtly emotional is pretty standard in our society, and many people who struggle with mental illness often have their feelings brushed aside by others in the hopes that they will hide their feelings instead. This criticism of emotions as signs of femininity and weakness, however, is less about the legitimacy of this idea and more so due to social stigma. This reaction to emotional expression is really based in an extremely emotional response of fear and shame. It's honestly a little ironic. Because of this fear around emotions, Peach's emotions can truly be viewed as a fearsome power. Of course, it needs to be taken with a grain of salt because stereotypes are definitely involved when it comes to Peach's feelings being her only ability in her eponymous debut, but for me at least, I felt able to reclaim the stereotype in some sense. It's a double-edged sword that comes with how society views femininity as weak while also fearing and admonishing the traits traditionally associated with it, i.e. emotionality. In reality, we all know that everyone experiences intense emotional states, and that this isn't limited to any particular demographic. Now, do I think Nintendo was trying to make a statement on how society views emotions? Well, no, I don't really at all, but like any form of media, we can choose how we engage with the content, and when I view it through this lens, it helps me to enjoy the game more. I don't think Super Princess Peach is exactly providing a profound commentary on the way emotions have a powerful impact on the world around us, but I think it's a fun take which could even be emphasized in a potential sequel so as to avoid this controversy. As long as we set the context in a way that's not reductive and focus on the legitimacy of Peach's abilities by integrating them with her characterization, I don't see why there should be an issue. I know that I hope that there's a Super Princess Peach 2, though I wonder if the development team is on the fence about making a sequel due to this controversy over emotions as a gameplay mechanic, especially for how they play into stereotypes. Personally, I would really enjoy it if the vibes made a return. And I'm a fan of the effects the emotions have. I like that anger isn't wholly destructive, that joy can defend you, that sadness allows for growth, and that a state of calm can be restorative, that it's necessary to take a break from feeling things all the time. Yay, metaphors! Ultimately, emotions can be a superpower, and I think they deserve to be respected for their impact on the obstacles in your way, whether they be relationships and personal struggles, or Goombas and bipedal plant monsters. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching! I have quite a few more videos planned for this series, and also a few other fun ideas that I've been brainstorming, so I hope you stay tuned. I'm really just starting out, and I know it's probably obvious, but I could nitpick everything I felt unsure of, or I could say I tried, so I tried. Anyway, hopefully it's all uphill from here. I mean, all up from here. Okay, bye!